Hawaiian Airlines has announced upgrades coming to the company. We'll talk to their CEO here today on Spotlight Now.
Plus, what's the outlook for the tourism market for this new year? We'll be talking to the head of HCVB. Spotlight Now starts now.
You're watching Spotlight Now with Ryan Kalei-Suchi and Yunji Denise on Hawaii News Now. Have questions or comments for our guests? Join the conversation in our Facebook live stream. Spotlight Now, where Hawaii comes to talk.
Well, aloha, thanks for tuning in here to Spotlight Now. We always like to begin the show by encouraging all of you who are watching both on air and online to engage in the conversation. You can head over to Facebook and enter your questions and comments for our guests there. Or you can also email us here at spotlightnow@hawaiinewsnow.com. We'll be checking it throughout the show. We already got in a few questions, so we'll be bringing those into this conversation as well.
We do love that engagement, and we want to welcome in our first guest, the CEO of Hawaiian Airlines, Diana Birkett Rakow. Thank you so much for being here today.
So glad to be here.
It is so good to see you. You know, we've spoken to you virtually before, but it's so nice to have you in person.
Much better in person.
We just want to start out with sort of generally how you feel things are going at the airline.
Well, we've had a lot going on. I've been in the role just over 2 months. And the first thing that struck me coming in is just how incredible the people are. And I knew that from the work that I've done with Hawaiian and with bringing together the two airlines and the combination. But actually being a part of the company and getting to work with folks is just really tremendous. What I will say, though, is we have put a lot of change into the system. And so I just want to be honest about that. We've put a lot of change into the system that impacts our employees, that impacts our guests, that impacts our technology. And especially this fall was a really hard time with a lot of change all at once. So 2026 is all about kind of bringing those changes to a point of a little bit more stability, navigating all of the changes and actually getting to a place where our ticketing systems and our airlines more seamlessly work together, which is going to be better for the guest. So, in terms of how things are going, I think they're going really well. And I want to acknowledge that really well means moving forward, but it also means that there's just a lot of moving pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm curious to know from you, I think when you said there's a lot of change all at once, people in Hawaii are a little change averse. And I think there's a lot of ownership that Hawaii people feel toward this airline in particular. And so what do you say to folks who worry that this essentially becomes Alaska taking over the airline as opposed to Hawaiian still being its own entity?
I'm really glad you asked that question because it's a really important one. From the beginning, from the first moments we ever considered coming together, we were clear that Hawaiian Airlines was here to stay. The brand, the sense of place, the commitment to Hawaii, the investment in Hawaii, and everything that comes with that, language, culture, the people are really the brand, and we want to make sure that we're empowering them to be themselves and to do their best work. So that is the goal. That's the business plan. That's the decision that we've made. How we do that has been articulated in some respects in terms of where the different brands show up in the airports. We're clear that the Hawaiian Airlines livery will continue to fly with Pualani guiding us on our journey. But the details of that will evolve over time. What's clear is Hawaiian Airlines is here to stay. And I hope that we continue a good dialogue with our employees and with our guests because I know they'll help us understand how best to do that.
Part of the sort of changes over the last few months have been the Atmos rewards. And I know you probably get that all the time. If you go to Longs, I'm guessing that's the first thing. Yeah. People say, where are my miles? Where's my status? How do I make sure? So has that all been worked out?
Yeah, this has been one of the hardest changes because it's a new system and new logins and new names of things and parameters. So we announced our combined loyalty program in August, and in October, Hawaiian Miles officially shifted over to be the Atmos Rewards program. You do not lose your miles. If you think that you're missing miles, people should know you shouldn't be losing your miles. We are seeing in some cases, for example, Yunji, you might have actually 2 accounts and you didn't know that, and some miles are in one and some miles are in the other, and only one account's miles transferred over. Call us, we'll work it out, we'll make sure that both sets of miles are now in your new account. But there's 4 tiers instead of 2 tiers. There's new names for things. There's more ways to earn points and more ways to be rewarded. And then in our Huaka'i program coming later this year, the Huaka'i program is in existence now, but we're going to add a benefit later this year of 50% bonus points and status points for neighbor island travel, because we recognize how critical neighbor island travel is to Hawaii residents.
Well, Ryan and I are both kids from the Big Island, so we'd like to hear that.
There you go. So keep flying back and forth.
That's right. And thanks for viewers for sticking with us. We ran into some audio issues. I think we have things figured out now. But, let's also talk about some of the investment. An announcement was recently made about the long-term investment that Hawaiian Airlines is making into just many facets of the infrastructure as well as the fleet. Can you talk to us about that investment and what specifically customers of Hawaiian Airlines can begin to expect seeing once these things come to fruition?
Yeah, thanks for asking about that. So over the last couple of years, we've gotten a lot of feedback from employees and from guests and from community members about what they were hoping to see in this combination. And as I mentioned earlier, there's been some really hard changes and a lot for people to track. We were really excited to have all of that input come together and into a package of investments that we announced last week called the Kuhuewai Hawaii Investment Plan. And the team gave the plan the name Kuhuewai because it signifies fresh water bursting forth. And so regenerating and supporting and continuing to invest in Hawaii. That plan includes a number of elements. A big part of it is airport investments. So making sure that this is in addition to the projects that we normally support in partnership with DOT. But lighter, brighter, modernized airport spaces, seating, power in the seats, all of the things that you look for in just having a smooth travel experience. New lounge. We're also investing in technology. We know there have been issues with our app, and we're working on those one at a time, but we will be launching a new app and website with new functionality later this spring, which will really help, especially when our ticketing system comes together. And then more in sustainability, community, and brand new interiors for the A330 aircraft, which are the wide bodies that are based here in Honolulu.
We love to hear all of those things. And I also, for Huaka'i, let's talk a little bit about, since we have a hometown crowd, presumably watching, the benefits for Kama'aina specifically. We got the free first checked bag neighbor island, which is huge.
Yeah. Free checked bag, 10 to 20% discounts on neighbor island travel, system-wide deals. And then the 50% bonus, as I talked about, for neighbor island travel coming later this year. The other thing that's coming just in this spring is officially Hawaiian Airlines will join One World. And what that is unlocking is we are over time, we have actually 30 airline partners. One World Airlines are a big part of them. So think Qantas, Japan Airlines, British Airways, et cetera. And you can actually earn points and redeem points for tickets on those partner airlines and be recognized for your status on those airlines. So it really opens up not just the combined network of Alaska and Hawaiian, which now have 4 times as many destinations available from Hawaii as before the combination, and more greater financial stability, but it opens up that broader global network of airlines.
Well, one of the things that we always get updates on are routes. We know that this is something that constantly changes over the years since we've been doing this. We've talked about routes that are being launched, some that have been discontinued, and we know that during this transition time as well, there have been some of that happening. What can you tell us about some of the existing routes? What are you seeing that's doing well, and maybe other markets that you may be looking at in the future that will service people who come and travel to Hawaii?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So we're always looking at new opportunities and sort of ready to jump on them when they become available. Right now, though, what we're really focused on is making sure that the network to, from, and within Hawaii is as strong as it can possibly be to allow us to invest in those new opportunities in the future. And some of the changes that you saw this fall was in that interest, to make sure that we've got a really strong and sustainable network here. Some of the things that we're watching, travel to and from Hawaii and the continent are doing really well. We're now the #1 carrier in the Hawaii LA market, which is one of the biggest in it's LA is sort of the biggest market to and from Hawaii in the world. Japan travel is doing well, and we're actually really excited to be celebrating our 15th anniversary of flying to Japan. I'll be over there next month with the team and helping attract more Japanese tourists. So we've got a lot of opportunity as we go forward, and obviously Neighbor Island travel continues to be really strong.
Yeah, I want to key into that Japanese interest that you talked about, because so much of our tourism conversation over the years has really been centered on international travel. We're going to be talking to Sala of HCVB after this, but I'm curious to see those trends that you're seeing and how you feel like we focus our tourism marketing and our resources to bring more travelers to Hawaii. And there's so much talk about sustainable travel and the right kind of traveler. So how is Hawaiian Airlines engaged in that conversation and that partnership?
Yeah, very deeply, and has been for a very long time. I was honestly truly honored to be the person on the show before Sala, and I am excited to watch his segment. His leadership has just been fantastic, and the new campaign that HVCB put out, Hawaii Stays With You, is really beautiful, and I think underscores that the priority of marketing Hawaii to the world, but in a way that attracts the right visitors who will come, be respectful, take care of the environment, buy local, reinvest in Hawaii, and then come back and uplift language and culture and all of the things that we want those visitors to do. So we are partners with HVCB in that work. We also, as you and many of the viewers know, have a program called Travel Pono, which is actually the voices of our employees talking to our travelers about how to take care of this place and what's important here. And we look forward to continuing to build on that program. Actually, part of the Kahui Vibe investment plan is additional investment in supporting regenerative tourism, both the right kind of marketing of Hawaii as a destination, but also taking care of resources and land and culture here at home.
One of the conversations that continue to come up as we talk about tourism and the numbers and attracting people back is what is that number? I mean, when you look at the pre-pandemic numbers that were coming out, there were many in the community who say that was just simply too much, and that there needs to be this balance. But, we talk about the softening of the tourism market, and people and those who are invested in the industry trying to get back to those numbers. How do we find that balance of what is that right number, and how do we scale that to maybe what was previously done with what we were seeing with the loads coming into Hawaii prior to the pandemic?
I think there's a couple things there. I mean, you said balance a couple of times, and I really do think that is the theme. I also think, certainly internationally, it's really critical to ensure that a route is going to be viable long term, to have demand on both sides of that route. So we need that international tourism as well as domestic tourism to support the broader network that Hawaiian flies. But the last thing is, and this sort of relates to probably what Aaron will talk about, is finding the right kind of traveler and making sure that it's not just about the numbers, it's also about expanding our reach and attracting those that are going to take care of Hawaii and invest here. So we do that with partners around the world. In Asia, we're really excited to start doing more of that in Europe. When we launch the routes to Rome and Reykjavik and London later this spring from Seattle, Europe, going through Seattle from Hawaii to Europe will actually be the fastest way to get there, and you can do that on the combined Hawaiian and Alaska network within the loyalty program and within the ecosystem. And we're excited to promote Hawaii to folks in Europe so that they can take advantage of that route the other direction and come and maybe never have been to Hawaii before because it wasn't accessible, but come and invest in this place.
We want to get the viewers in, and thank you for those of you who are writing in. And this is a very specific question, but it goes back to that $600 million investment that you were talking about. Bruce wants to know, what's the plan for the Platinum member lounges? I think airport lounges are a place that people like to have a little respite. So what is the plan for the lounges long term?
Yes, we're really excited. And part of the plan is actually a very large 10,600 square foot lounge in the Mauka Concourse here in Honolulu. The other lounges will still be available in Honolulu as well as in Maui, but this big new lounge is going to be really exciting. reflect the Hawaiian brand and be an amazing place to relax before or, even after a flight. So we're in design phase. We look forward to sharing more details, and it'll open towards the end of next year.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I mean, it really is. People care about their miles, their bags, and the lounge, right?
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
Those are the important things. It's the travel experience. We want local people to have a great travel experience, and it's all of those basics. Can I count on, the rewards I'm getting, and can I invest in them? Can I access my account? Is that seamless? And unfortunately, that's been a little bit tricky. And we're getting better at that, but I want to acknowledge that hasn't been totally smooth. Bags, we know that you want to get there on time and with your bag, so that's really important. And then we want visitors to come and have a phenomenal first impression of Hawaii.
And just to clarify the exact location of this lounge that you're speaking about, this will be in that newer terminal, or will it be a renovation of anything existing?
No, you walk into the Mauka concourse, and there's a big sort of open space on the left as you're headed toward the gates. That's where it'll be.
Got it. And what can neighbor island folks expect? Is there going to be anything on the neighbor islands that are going to be improved in those lounges, or just the overall experience for guests that may be traveling outside of Honolulu?
Yeah, especially focused on the overall experience there. So the investment in airports is through all of the airports that we serve across the islands, which is a really important detail. It's not just Honolulu, it's all the neighbor island airports that we serve, gate areas, lobbies, as well as employee spaces.
There's that one little respite if you fly in and out of Kona. There's this one little place that's air conditioned.
I was just there
and I'm always
yesterday.
running to
Yes.
the cleanest bathrooms in the airport. Let me ask you just on a personal note. We've been talking to you in your previous role working for Alaska. Obviously, you spent a lot of time in sustainability. Curious, 2 months on the job now, officially as the CEO. What's been the biggest surprise for you in this new role?
Oh, I don't know that it's a surprise. I think the thing that is I have found most impactful is the opportunity to work with Hawaiian Airlines employees. They are incredible at what they do. They absolutely love the company and the purpose and what they represent and the service that we're able to provide to people across the islands and what that means. And they're so dedicated. And they've also been incredibly welcoming of me. I've had the chance to get out and work alongside some of them in maintenance on the ramp, at the gate. Look forward to getting out with flight attendants and pilots and others in the future. And they teach me a ton. And that's definitely not a surprise, but a really wonderful thing. I think maybe if there's any surprise, I think airline mergers are just complicated. And this is no exception. There are a ton of moving pieces. And so one of the hardest things is, how do you make sure that you keep people informed well, accurately, consistently, and we have to explain things many times to make sure that we're getting it the right way. And we don't always get it perfectly. And so we just really appreciate people's patience with us as we go through this process. We will get there, especially after our ticketing systems come together, but it's not easy.
You mentioned just some of that information that's coming out, and one of the terms that you'll learn is the coconut wireless, which is just the information that goes out really quickly out into the community. And as you mentioned, sometimes that information is not always accurate, and that has often sometimes given many local people the perspective that Hawaiian Airlines is going away, and that this is something that many people have pushed back on. I'm sure you folks have had to make statements about things that are mentioned on social media. How do you balance that? I mean, in terms of the communication, and what do you think is some of the things that are out there that you just want to maybe really put to bed here, that to dispel some of those things that are being said about the future of this company?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. And I really do hope that people continue to ask about what they're wondering about, because it gives us a chance, to reaffirm what is true, but also to get feedback, because then you understand what's on people's minds. Certainly, one of the areas of questions is the brand here to stay? And that is, Hawaiian Airlines is here to stay. Pualani is here to stay. So let's be really clear about that. The employees represent the brand so incredibly well. And as I said before, Hawaiian Airlines being here to stay doesn't just mean the visual representation. Those are important things, but those are the things that back up and lift up employees and how they bring that to life. Another thing is the rootedness in place. And that's another thing that I know our employees and our guests will hold us accountable for, is accurately reflecting and elevating Hawaii, investing here and making sure that we carry that spirit with us as we travel. And related to that is our opportunity and, frankly, our responsibility to make sure that we are elevating local culture, local Hawaiian language. And, you know, we're about to go into Mahina Alelo, Hawaii, and that's one of the things that Hawaiian Airlines has invested in every year. This year's no exception. We do career outreach to Hawaiian language immersion schools. We do Kikumu language classes, which now are available not just to Hawaiian Airlines employees, but to all 30,000 employees around Air Group. So really even further expanding the reach of that opportunity. Our Hawaiian language flight, and then of course we also, since 2019, have had a certification program for our flight attendants that enables them to further expand access of sharing the language with our guests. So there's a whole litany more things, but those are a couple of the things that, you know, we really hold dear and really important to continue to do and to elevate. And of course, we also know that there are things on board that our customers like that we need to keep, like POG.
Yes, keep the POG. My kids always wanted to fly Hawaiian just for the POG. And I think, you know, it's not just the POG or it's the people, and it's also, there's a feeling that you get when you know, I mean, and I think it's also as a kama'aina, getting on a flight, especially if it's a flight coming home, that maybe you see a familiar face or there's just something. How do you continue to teach that and cultivate that kind of cultural piece of Hawaiian Airlines? Not necessarily Hawaiian culture, but Hawaiian Airlines culture is what I'm talking about.
Yes.
The friendliness, the flower behind the ear, like all of these little touches that make Hawaiian different than the other airlines.
It's so unique and distinct. And I think what's really, I mean, it's one of the reasons that my most important priority is supporting our employees. Talking with our employees, listening to them, and making sure that they feel supported through all of the change. And I know it hasn't been easy, and that we are going through this change to create a strong and thriving future in which Hawaiian Airlines is here in Hawaii and serving Hawaii for a long time to come. Because employees know inherently that spirit, that culture. And so I think it's the job of leadership to lift that up and support that and enable it to continue to thrive. And they will teach me.
Before we let you go, last thing, you know, going forward, how do you define success over the next year? I know there are some practical things, the app, the investments, all of that. But when in a year from now, if we're talking to you again, you know, what would you like to have seen?
I think there's a couple things. One of them is just to the practical. It is that guests, you know, have their miles, know how to get into their account, feel familiar with those things, and that they're not points of friction. They are frictionless at that point. We will be merging onto the same ticketing system, which will just make going back and forth between the two brands so much smoother, which really is better for not only our guests, but also our employees who are working to support our guests. So one is sort of that guest experience is smooth and seamless and supported. I hope that our employees feel like they are also supported. They will have gone through a lot of training to support the new ticketing system, to merge manuals, and they'll get new technology to use. And so that all of that, we've worked through those changes and we're building for the future. And then the last thing is that, you know, the brand is here. We know that that's going to be the case, but people feel more confident that that is going to continue. And all of those things together are what will keep Hawaiian Airlines strong and thriving for the future. And that is the ultimate goal.
Okay, well, wonderful to spend time with you today. Thank you so much for
Thanks
being
so
with
much
us.
for having me.
We'll be with Aaron Sala right after this. You're watching Spotlight Now. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome back to Spotlight Now. We're continuing on our conversation as we focus in on tourism. We want to again encourage all of you who are watching on air and online to ask your questions. You can email us here at spotlightnow@hawaiinewsnow.com or head over to Facebook and enter it into the comments section on our Hawaii News Now Facebook page.
And joining us now is Dr. Aaron Sala, of course, the president and CEO of the Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we heard Diana there from Hawaiian Airlines talk about, this reassurance that Hawaiian is here to stay, and not only sort of physically that the airline is here to stay, but the experience and the brand and the culture of the airline is here to stay. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts about how you think this transition is going, the merger. There's still some kinks, obviously, but your thoughts on Hawaiian and the islands.
I think all things of this nature, of this size, are in process, right? And so I think what Hawaiian and Alaska are trying to do is figure out themselves through that process. I think Hawaii is really precious about who we are, who we think we are, what we want in a timely manner. And we've gotten really used to Hawaiian being an incredible brand that we've come to rely on day in, day out. They've always been really consistent. And so these kinks, they jolt us from normal life. And so I think what they're trying to do is honor that legacy that Hawaiian has had with us as a community, at the same time really looking in a futures focused kind of way, and assure that all things will happen as they're meant to happen in process and atmos, and all of bringing points together and making sure that what we're used to is maintained. But it is a process. There are challenges that we face.
Let's talk about some of the challenges that we're facing right now with the tourism industry. There are many within the community that work in this industry that are worried about some of the softening numbers that we're seeing. Maybe first talk a little bit about HVCB and the mission and overall goal of what you are trying to lead this organization to do to help with some of the issues that we're seeing in this and what we're hearing we can expect in the tourism industry.
Yeah, so HVCB is sort of a legacy destination marketing and management organization, has a responsibility to drive demand for Hawaii. That's sort of the legacy look of what a destination marketing organization is. I think under my tenure, what we're trying to do is really, again, assess where we are in tourism writ large, looking at Hawaii as a storyteller of incredible stories of people, stories of place, and how that functions in a global audience. I'll come back to the initial part of your question, and I figure we can talk through what HVCB is over the course of the conversation. Right now, where we are is the new up. That tourism increase is something that isn't happening around the world. People are not traveling like they used to travel. And so what we're seeing is that per the state sort of directive, higher spend travelers who are coming and not as many travelers as we've seen in the past. Now, that's really good from a state's perspective. From the industry perspective, it doesn't necessarily sustain a workforce, right? And so what we're trying to do is find that balance. You asked Diana this question earlier, what is the balance between what we saw in 2019? We also agree, 2019 numbers were dangerous for us, followed by 2021 numbers, dangerous for us. And so what we have to figure out is as we go toward what we call at HVCB the Hawaii Target Traveler, what kind of travel, how many travelers are coming, what is our goal for their spend here in a very tactical and controllable way. And that's sort of the thing that's right in front of us. And so working toward that, again, it is a process. There are a lot of stakeholders. The state is a stakeholder, DBED, HTA, HVCB, our industry, the community, how we work through all the expectations, desires, demands, directives is one of the things that we sit right in the middle of.
Before we get to the specifics of the new campaign that you've launched and the intention behind it, there are those in our community, you see them in the comments right now, who feel that Hawaii doesn't need to market itself, that, Hawaii sort of sells itself enough already, no need to spend money in this way. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, so if I analogize, if I say that everyone in the entire world knows about Coca-Cola. Everyone in the entire world knows about Coca-Cola and drinking Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola's brand they invest in. And they take a portion of the marketing or portion of the revenue generated by marketing, they reinvest it in marketing. right? And so the reason why people continue to drink Coca-Cola or go to McDonald's is because these organizations invest in the marketing of the brand, invest in the story of the brand across. Now, if Coca-Cola chose to stop marketing Coca-Cola, maybe this generation will know. So 5 years from now, people will know, oh, Auntie used to drink Coca-Cola, we can drink Coca-Cola. But 7 years from now, those people who today love and know a company like Coca-Cola, the story of Coca-Cola falls away. It's the same with Hawaii. And so the world knows Hawaii as an aspirational destination because Hawaii has invested in the marketing of that destination, has maintained the quality of the story of Hawaii across the world. So if we start to pull that away, I no longer control the story that I want to tell about myself in the world. And so then if I pull that away, I no longer control the story. Somebody's going to tell some story about Hawaii. Those people may not know anything about Hawaii, those people may not be from Hawaii, but they're going to continue to tell that story. And suddenly what we see is then we're no longer an aspirational destination, we're just one of the pack. And I think that our community wants to continue to maintain the aspirational desire for Hawaii because then we are in control of the story that we tell. Now, the other part of that then is to commit to the need for us to really contribute to the storytelling that gets done about Hawaii in any market, right? And so part of that is us making this commitment to community. That community then participates in the content of the story and then the ownership thereof, so that the stories that we're telling to ourselves, about each other, to the world, about who we are, all come from a cohesive, unified engagement process. Again, it's a process, but it is something that we are committed to.
But just to kind of expand on that and talking a little bit about how that story of Hawaii has been told over the years. I mean, this is a much different campaign and look that Hawaii is now trying to tell the world than, say, the Surf, Sand, and Sun that was done generations
Absolutely.
ago. Talk about the evolution of the storytelling and your role as a Native Hawaiian leading this organization and involved, how you find that balance between not getting too deep in the weeds where you're going over its head about Native culture, but still making it marketed in a way that is appealing.
Yeah, that is the pressure. When you say Native Hawaiian CEO of an organization like this, that is the absolute pressure. And I think I just firmly but very simply believe that Hawaii can change the world, that we have nurtured and maintained a community of people who are of different color, of different worldview, who come together and live in an island community, who decide, we negotiate peace with each other on a daily basis. I don't know that we would say that, but if I get into traffic from Kaneohe coming to town in the morning, there is a negotiation of how I will react in said traffic. And so Hawaii has just designed this as a result of us living in an island environment on how these different people from different walks of life will get along. And so that is the power of Hawaii for me, that we have figured that out, and that's part of the story that Hawaii has to tell the world. And so my job then as CEO of an organization like HCVB, which is ultimately a communications organization, how are we communicating, what we're communicating, why we're communicating this to different audiences. And truth be told, again, Hawaii changes the world. Therefore, in this campaign, we sought out to assure that we were starting to engage more stakeholders in the process of storytelling, designing the story, producing the story, color correcting the story, musicking the story, in a way that started to engage so many more kinds of stakeholders than I think we've done in the past. I think the dynamism of that process is the thing that keeps me interested in really engaging different ideas. And so Hawaii Stays With You is this opportunity now to start to open how we engage with an audience, because Hawaii Stays With You is everyone's story. Hawaii stays with me, Hawaii stays with you, Hawaii stays with you. Any visitor who comes engages with the people from this place, sure, on our aina, and our aina must be restored and respected and sustained, etc. But the goal then is that experience here profoundly affects and impacts the way that they see themselves in the world. And Hawaii Stays With You is an opportunity for us to start to engage in that next chapter.
Yeah, so the campaign, as you reference, is Hawaii Stays With You. And how did you land on that?
Yeah. That's a process. Let me acknowledge our managing director of the island chapters, Sue Kanoho, in this case. So we started with a series of potential campaigns, right? The first one was Buy Hawaii. And what we were trying to do is look at these experiences being uniquely by Hawaii. And so that that was tested a little bit, and we got pushed back because of some copyright potential. And so then Buy Hawaii became Live Hawaii. Well, I loved Live Hawaii because Live Hawaii talked about if you live the values of Hawaii. And then that got pushed back because people are like, you don't want people to live here. And so then that got put. I really held actually pretty strongly to Live Hawaii. I thought that was a very, very powerful campaign. Sue Kanoho, truth be told, is the one who said, Aaron, we can't do Live Hawaii. I understand what you're trying to say, but that's not the thing we want to say at this time. So we took that note, and Live Hawaii became Hawaii Changes You. Hawaii Changes You became Hawaii Stays With You. And all through the process, engaging industry, marketers, community members, and really starting to cull and curate a sense of ownership of the kind of story that we're trying to tell. And so as a result of that, then I think we're also collectively proud of Hawaii Stays With You because of what it provides for us as an industry, as a community, as a destination, as an aina, to tell the world and what the world can say about us.
When you look at this campaign, is there a target group, a location? Who do you want to hear this message, and how do you plan on getting it out there? We were just in LA a few weeks ago where this campaign was announced, but talk a little bit more beyond that about what your hopes would be for the target audience and who that market looks like and what the results will actually look like in this tourism industry.
So the work that we do is in global branding. And so we look at the story that Hawaii is trying to tell, and we create a brand, or we follow through, I should say, on the brand that hopefully speaks globally, right? That speaks to the entire world, regardless of where you're from. And we very firmly believe that Hawaii Stays With You is an opportunity for us to engage a traveler from wherever they come. And so let me note that for the U.S., that traveler primarily lives on the West Coast. So LA, as Diana remarked earlier, LA is our primary market. LA, San Francisco, then we go over to Dallas to Texas for a little bit. We come back to the Pacific Northwest, et cetera. So it's really in that area of the United States that provides us our largest demographic. And so what we try to do is be as specific as we possibly can, sort of in the media engagement, media relations engagement, how we do paid media, how we try to engage with earned media, that we're targeting what we call a Hawaii target traveler. So it's several sort of psychographics, right? I mean, there's criteria. They make a certain amount of money over the course of the year. They engage in these kinds of activities. They're culturally conscious. They're sustainability conscious. They have values, and those values that they live at, the values that they live at home inform the way that they travel. And so what we're basically trying to do is say, if we want the kind of traveler that comes to Hawaii that we would want to visit our home. And if these kinds of travelers are the kinds of people, they pick up trash from the road and they put the trash, those kinds of people, and obviously oversimplification, but it's really that kind of engagement that we want to create. And because then if they bring those values here and we create an experience that elevates the power of those values, then hopefully they, again, in a Hawaii Stays With You way, they take those values back and they start to impact the people around them. Again, in a way that Hawaii's own legacy lives so far beyond the experience and the people themselves. And so that's really the goal of the work.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is a really deep reciprocal relationship that you're essentially creating with the traveler, as opposed to just being a destination where they can come and have a good time.
Totally.
That they are, and you said something really important, which is that you think Hawaii can change the world, right? So how do you hope long term that Hawaii does stay with the people who come here?
Yeah, thank you for that, because I think we tend to think very unilaterally in the sense that tourism is this thing where tourist comes and takes it away, and then they go back and they leave us with nothing. And I tend to look at tourism as this opportunity for Hawaii to impart ourselves on the people that come to visit. So on one hand, yes, we do want travelers, visitors who are primed to receive an experience from Hawaii. Our expectation, though, is that Hawaii is in part of that experience, then it profoundly impacts these people subtly, directly, out loud, in the quiet, as they return to wherever they've come from. And so the way that I look at tourism is this opportunity for us to teach the world about ourselves and why the people that we are have the responsibility to profoundly impact the people that come to visit us. And so, again, it's a process. It's dynamic, but it's simple and firm.
You've been now in this role for a year or so, and I just wanted to note and get your thoughts on how it has been for you to almost be an ambassador for Hawaii outside of Hawaii, to go out into these markets. You travel a lot for this job, obviously. You intersect with a lot of people. What has been the most surprising thing that maybe people perceive of Hawaii, and how have you been able to take this mantle? I mean, when you just look at Hawaii's history, I mean, just the ali'i that have gone and done just this, to talk about Hawaii to those who have never been here, in this era and where you are now, what has been some of the things that you've learned and some of the things that you've seen when trying to do this job and present Hawaii to those who may not know much about us?
Yeah, first of all, I think in a full circle, back to Yunji's earlier comment to Dan, change is hard. And so change, our community change is difficult, our industry change is difficult, the way that we engage with travelers change is difficult all over the place. And I come into an organization that has antecedents to 120 years old, and I'm a very futures oriented, looking at how we want to use this platform. So again, my big why is that Hawaii can change the world. And how Hawaii changes the world is the more and more and more that we can attach our stories to mainstream activity. Mainstream activity, that is engagement with Cirque du Soleil, that is engagement with tourism, that is potentially engagement with Disney, and that is using the mainstream apparatus to bring a way of seeing the world that is profound, that is appreciative, that is reciprocal, that is regenerative, to show how Hawaii has really figured it out. We really have figured it out. And so then I come into an organization that is old. And so starting to change the culture and change the mindset and change how we think about the doing of the work so that we can achieve a bigger why is key to my own success as a leader. Now, the other part of that too, though, is that Isaiah Walker talks about the Po'ina Kai in a book called Waves of Resistance. He talks about the Po'ina Kai as a sovereign space for surfers, that no one could take the wave away from surfers. And I feel like that about stages in Waikiki, that at the time of Mad Men, when you're talking about Sun Sand Surf and advertising heavy, and you had Mahi Beamer at Queen's Surf, and you had Alfred Apaka at the Dome, and you had Haunani Kahalewai at the Biltmore. Those stages, no one could take away from Hawaiians. They were Hawaiian speaking, they were Hawaiian singing, they were Hawaiian cultural practitioners. You cannot take any of those stages away from these incredible Hawaiians who are performing on these stages, elevated by the power of tourism. And so part of the story of Hawaii across the world is told by these Hawaiians in these particular places. What's fascinating about that too is if you go back historically to your point, Kalakaua teaches us or directs us, right? Practice your culture. And I think part of the reason he was so adamant about practicing culture is that he knew that in a dynamic world where Hawaii was this really shiny thing for all of the powers of the world, the culture is the one thing no one can take away from us. And so if we practice our culture and we use every mechanism to assure the elevation of that culture through storytelling, we're doing the thing that we are supposed to do. And sharing that with the world, assuring that we create a regenerative, reciprocal relationship is the job now. But that's the power of Hawaii in the world.
Wow, it is always so great to spend
Oh,
time with
you're
you.
amazing. Sorry, so long-winded.
No, we love it, and thank you for being here. Thank you
you.
so much for your time today. We'll be right back focusing on community with Hawaii Pacific Health right after this.
From the moment you wake up.
Hawaii News Now brings you the stories that impact your day.
With more on the breaking news, we go live to Casey Lund.
Ready with the push alert? I'm going live. We have an update to the breaking news we brought you this morning on Sunrise.
Okay, guys, as soon as this wraps, toss him a hat.
And we've been covering this story all day.
Now we go live to Mahia for a new development.
Stand by for breaking news. They just captured the suspect.
That's confirmed?
Yes, sources just confirmed it.
The news you need the moment it breaks.
Here on Hawaii News Now.
First alert traffic is like always having a helpful passenger right next to you.
There's a crash up ahead in the left lane.
When we see a backup, we'll tell you live on TV.
That doesn't look too good.
And send an alert to your phone.
I'll type, you drive.
First alert traffic on TV, streaming, and on the Hawaii News Now app.
Keeping you and your ohana safe.
Well, welcome back to Spotlight Now. We are now going to be shifting gears and talking about things that are happening in our community through our community spotlight with our partners at Hawaii Pacific Health.
And Hawaii Pacific Health has something exciting happening very soon, in about a week. So Catherine Chang here, physical therapist at Straub Benioff Medical Center, is here to talk about the HPH 10K and 5K fun run on Sunday, the 25th. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it really is an amazing race. It is for women and girls of all ages. It is the only all-female sanctioned race in Hawaii. It embodies female empowerment, it promotes women's health and fitness, and it welcomes participants of all different running backgrounds. So whether you are running a serious runner and you want to win the race, or you're just a recreational walker doing it for the first time, it really does welcome females of all different backgrounds and fitness levels.
What makes this race maybe different? There's a lot of races, obviously, that happen in our community.
Yep.
What do you think makes this one stand out specifically, and why it's important to an organization like Hawaii Pacific Health?
Yeah, so this one is different. It has the 10K option as well as the 5K. And so those are a little bit shorter than some of the other races that we see on the island, such as the Hapalua Half Marathon and the Honolulu Marathon. So it is... I personally think it's a little less taxing on the body. You know, it's a little less stressful. It's more fun and casual. So it takes you from Kapilani Park through Diamond Head. So you have the hills there, which can be a little bit of a challenge, but, you know, you have amazing ocean views. And once you get past that, it's, you know, really rewarding and just an overall beautiful course.
We know that in 2024, I have here that you were the fastest employee in the race, and you received the Martha B. Smith Award. You've been running for some time, and my understanding is that you come from a family of runners as well.
Yes. Yes, I did receive that award. I actually ran the race a couple of years ago now for the first time, and it was actually the story is that it was pouring that day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of this rain. So I was running, and I finished, and I went home. I was like, I'm out of here, because I wanted to get into dry clothes. And then I received a call saying that I received the Martha B. Smith Award, and I was like, what? So I couldn't accept the award that day, but, you know, it was a nice surprise. And yeah, I mean, I was inspired by my parents. They are ultramarathon runners, and they inspired me to run. So picked up running in my teens, and then, you know, did half and full marathons in my 20s. So, you know, they've been great role models to me. They're a big part of who I am. So they actually ran the Honolulu Marathon last month, and they run the marathon like every year, actually. And they're in their late 60s. So I hope to be nearly as active as them when I'm their age.
Okay,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
and for someone who, you know, I do not like running. But what advice would you give, I guess, for those who are looking to enter this race or any other race? As a runner yourself, as someone in the medical, you know, community, what are some things that you would encourage people to maybe get involved with and be aware of when they're entering races like this?
Yeah, so I mean, one common mistake I see in runners, especially the longer distances, runners tend to push through pain. So oftentimes when you start a running program, you feel aches and pains, and sometimes the pain just goes away on its own, but other times it persists into a more chronic issue. And so if you keep pushing through that pain, it takes longer to recover from that. So my recommendation is to just really listen to your body. And if you do start to feel aches and pains that persist, to seek treatment if possible, and to just, to prevent it from becoming a more serious injury.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of folks out there, you know, it's the new year, so New Year's resolution, they want to lose weight or get more active or just be more physically fit. What is your advice to folks who are just starting on that kind of a, you know, physical journey, fitness journey?
Yeah, so basically just starting off gradually, you know, don't overdo it. A lot of people they get all gung-ho about doing this new program. And so basically I just recommend, you know, starting off like maybe 1 or 2 days a week of running or whatever activity they're doing, and just gradually, increase it depending on how they feel. Just really listening to your body, because especially as we get older, it just, you know, things start to, you know, just feel things more, and it takes longer to recover. So
if we can talk a little bit about that recovery, I've seen a lot of people, especially after the Honolulu Marathon, and granted that is a much more difficult race and longer, but how should people recover from things like this? It's physically taxing on the body.
Yes.
What advice would you provide to those who, once they finish a race, ways that they can make sure that they can do this again?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, immediately after the race, I always recommend a cool down or walking after. And then when your heart rate drops, it's important to stretch. So do some static stretches to target the major muscle groups in your lower extremities, the quads, the calves, the glutes, to help reduce the tightness there. And then making sure you're hydrating, so, you know, drinking enough water, and then electrolytes if you're one that sweats a lot like me. So just getting the proper nutrition and getting enough sleep and rest too during that time.
Yeah, I'm curious, just, you know, what's the energy like out there for someone who might be on the fence? What would you say to them, encouraging them to come out? Because it does sound appealing to be with all these other women and kind of supporting each other through the process.
Yes, it's really so much. It's really exciting. Just all the energy, the vibes. It's everyone's just hyped up, and it's everyone just wants to have a good time. You know, it's really casual, and I'm actually signed up for the race myself, so I'll be there on January 25th, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the women out there just hyping each other up and having a great time.
We know you'll be at the front of the pack.
Yeah.
We'll see.
If anyone wants more information, I mean, where should they go, and how can they find out more about this?
Hawaii Pacific Health website. I don't know the website. Yes, it should be online somewhere. Yeah, there should be information. You could register on there. And I believe there's different options as far as like if you want to sign up like a single individual or with a team, you know, to make it more fun. A bunch of women, you know, signing up together, it makes it more exciting. So yeah, there's different options. You can get discounts that way.
Okay, we'll see you out there on race day. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.
From the moment you wake up.
Hawaii News Now brings you the stories that impact your day.
With more on the breaking news, we go live to Casey Lund.
Ready with the push alert? I'm going live.
We have an update to the breaking news we brought you this morning on Sunrise.
Okay, guys, as soon as this wraps, toss to Mahia.
And we've been covering this story all day.
Now we go live to Mahia for a new development.
Stand by for breaking news. They just captured the suspect.
That's confirmed?
Yes, sources just confirmed it.
The news you need the moment it breaks.
Here on Hawaii News Now.
Spotlight Now with Yunji Denise and Ryan Kalei-Suchi. Connecting you with newsmakers from throughout our islands. Going in depth with Hawaii's leaders. And taking your questions live. Spotlight Now, where Hawaii comes to talk.
Well, we want to thank all of our guests for joining us here, and of course for all of you for tuning in. We really talked about, started off this conversation talking with Hawaiian Airlines, the Hawaiian Airlines CEO, about some of the major changes that are coming. One of the things that, of course, stood out was the recognition that this hasn't been the smoothest of transitions, that they are still working through some of the kinks. We see the comments, we see many people reacting to some of the challenges that Hawaiian Airlines is facing, but this new CEO in place, Diana, really just acknowledging that and trying to settle some of the fears as well as some of the misconceptions that may be out there in the community.
Yeah, 2 months on the job, and she says there have been a lot of kinks, especially in the fall when the merger was really in full swing. The ticketing system is supposed to come online together in the next few months. Once that happens, she assures us that a lot of those kinks will be worked out. We did hear about new bonus miles for neighbor island travel, continuation of the free bags, and the $600 million investment. Now, that is not just in the airports, but it's throughout community, and it does include the lounges for Bruce, who wrote in, so thanks for that. And you really just hear about really wanting to send the message that Hawaiian Airlines is here to stay.
Yeah, because we have seen online with some of those changes and transitions that there has been just talk in the community about what will the future of Hawaiian Airlines look like. And really the statement I think that she was making today was that they are committed to the islands. You even heard her
Funding
specifically
cuts.
say that Pualani is not going anywhere, a symbol of the airlines that many thought would eventually fade out. You really heard that commitment from her today.
Yeah, and interesting to hear from Dr. Aaron Sala, of course, of HVCB, about the new campaign, Hawaii Stays With You, and what that really means, the partnership that he hopes that inspires between the traveler and the destination, kind of a new way to look at tourism and marketing and branding. That organization, of course, heavily invested in taking our message of Hawaii around the world.
And really just reiterating what that message looks like as we have seen the evolution of the way in which Hawaii is marketed to those who live outside, really pushing in and really diving into sort of the authentic native Hawaiian values and culture that makes Hawaii unique. You really heard from him that importance to having that authentic story remain and the need to go out and continue to sell Hawaii to a market that, again, many people expect this to be somewhat of a difficult year for tourism in the islands, and the HVCB will have to work alongside stakeholders in this industry to ensure that things continue to move forward in Hawaii's tourism industry.
At the end there, we heard about the fun run that HPH is putting on January 25th. And speaking of that health organization, we are going to be having Ray Vera, who is the CEO of Hawaii Pacific Health, along with Dr. Mark Mugaishi, who is the head of HMSA, to talk about their partnership. That'll be next week on Spotlight Now.
Or you can also email us here at spotlightnow@hawaiinewsnow.com. We'll be checking it throughout the show. We already got in a few questions, so we'll be bringing those into this conversation as well.
We do love that engagement, and we want to welcome in our first guest, the CEO of Hawaii.
Combination, but actually being a part of the company and getting to work with folks, getting all of the changes, and actually getting to a place where our ticketing systems and
Hawaiian still being its own entity.
I'm really glad you asked that question because it's a really important one from the beginning, from the
now. But let's also talk about some of the investment. Announcement was recently made about the long-term investment that Hawaiian Airlines is making into just many facets of the infrastructure as well as the fleet. Can you talk to us about that investment and what specifically customers of Hawaiian Airlines can begin to expect seeing once these things come to fruition?
Yeah, thanks for asking about that. So over the last couple of years, we've gotten a lot of feedback from employees and from guests and from community members about what they were hoping to see in this combination. And as I mentioned earlier, there's been some it's a new system and new logins and new names of things and parameters. So we announced our combined loyalty program in August,